Welcome to Rick Rack Ruby. I'm Laura Cluvo. Today we will be making this lavender and lace angel Christmas ornament. She's fun and easy, so let's get started. A friend and I went to the antique mall yesterday and I couldn't resist this $5 bag of lace. I really feel like limitations foster creativity. That's one of my favorite expressions. I'm gonna get this out of the bag because I know that it's probably creating a reflection. But anyway, I could see it. I could see these things, which are very intriguing. And then there's some tatting here. And I could also see this, which is just ideal for collars on angels. And then this one, which I thought would be nice as a hem. But I really wondered if I couldn't sort of make this into wings. I mean, there's a million things I could do with these, but I'm just in the mood for angels. This would be nice as a the cuff on a stocking or on the front of an angel like this. So there's a lot. I only have two, so I'm gonna have to decide, but I really want to try the this is a little heavier at the top and a little smaller at the bottom, so I'm gonna leave this part at the top. I'm gonna pleat it up and tie it off and use this as the wings, which means it's a pretty small angel. So I'm going to use, I think this is a 20mm head. Of course, you can find the instructions for the face in my Focus on Faces video. Anyway, let's get started. All right, let's start with some lavender colored tulle. I'll just cut off about 15 or 18 inches, 2 strips. This is 6 inches wide. You can get that at the craft store. I'm using purple because I want this design to have sort of a purple theme. Somehow I've been making lots of purple themed angels, and it's really fun. It helps me to focus. This is 1/16 inch ribbon. I will tie this off in the center of the 2 folded over strips of tulle with a square knot. And then I will thread the ends through the bead, the head bead. I decided to stick with this little face. It's really sweet. And pull the tulle through the hole in the bead. That looks good. And now I'm going to add a little smudge of glue right here to the top of the tulle, right in the back of her head, right below her head, and then slide it back on. I don't want it coming out the top. I just want the tulle to fill the hole in the bead. Then I'm going to tie this off, and this will be the hanging loop. Great. Now for her dress, I have a 5-inch wide by about 15 inches long print fabric. This is just a cotton print. I've had it in my stash for a very long time, and so I don't have a source for this, but you can choose any fabric you like. And I have chosen this lace from my new little baggie for the hem. And then I think I'm going to add a second row of tatting like this. So I will sew these on with my sewing machine. I'll do a little tiny zigzag and get those lined up along the hem, and I'll be back. That looks good. It's just the little sawtooth edge on the bottom, and then a second row of lace, the tatting. I did a little baby zigzag, and I wasn't super careful with it. I just tried to do 2 lines. I didn't pin it or anything. It's going to be fine because it'll all be gathered, and even if it's a little bit off, it'll be fine. So I'm matching up the short sides, and I'm going to pin this. It's important to pin close to the bottom because you don't want the hem to be off there at the bottom. And then it's less important for the edges to be perfect up here because this will be all gathered anyway. This is going to be the back seam. So I'm going to sew this with my sewing machine. There we go. And now I'm going to gather up the top edge of the dress by, I'll secure the thread first in this seam allowance. It's folded over and it's on, the knot is on the inside of the dress. I have a doubled strand of quilting thread. And now I'm going to do a running stitch all the way around, about 1/4 of an inch down from the raw edge. So I'll just go all the way around. I'm only sewing through a single layer of fabric. There I am, almost back to the start, and I like to use a thimble, so I use the thimble to push the needle through, and then I'll pull that up tightly. Then place this over the angel, centering that seam in the back. I'm pulling it as tightly as I can. Then I'm going to wrap tightly like that a couple of times and then stitch through from side to side. Really need a thimble for that. And then I'll secure my knot, I'll secure my thread in the back. Here's how she looks. There's a couple of, the fabric is fraying a little bit up there at that raw edge, and I'm going to trim this tulle. There we go. And now I wanted to use this thread, this lace for her collar. This is about 1/2 yard of 5/8 inch wide lace. So again, I have a double strand of quilting thread. I'm going to fold over the end and secure the knot in the fold. And sometimes the knot can pop through the lace, so I go through like that. Boop. And then I'll just gather this up from one edge to the other edge, just with a running stitch. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to place the collar around her neck and join the ends in the back. Then I'm going to have a look and distribute that fullness evenly. You know, there's a little variation in the color here, and I also noticed some in the hem lace. Oh yeah, there's some little age spots, and I kind of love that. I really like for the age to show. All right, so that looks good. Now I'm going to go through from the back to the front and secure my thread in the back. Now I will add a little decoration, like a ribbon or a bow or something to the front, but I'm going to wait because I have never done wings like this and I just don't want to over embellish. I think I was going to do red hair because there's so much white, but if this is the wings and this is the collar, is it not enough contrast if we have white for the hair? I'm going to do white for the hair. This is loopy mohair. I got this on Etsy from Weir Crafts. And I'm going to wrap this around my fingers. I'm holding the end here. I'm going to wrap it 6 times. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and cut it off with a nice long tail. Then take this top one, go all the way around, take the first one, go over, and tie it in the center. So basically, I'm creating a figure 8 bundle with 6 loops on each side. It's tied off tightly in the center. That looks good. I'm going to make a second bundle, so if you've never seen this before, I'll do it a little bit more slowly. Leave yourself about a 6-inch tail, hold it here, and I'm right-handed. I'm sorry if you're left-handed, it might be confusing. Then I'm going to make 6 loops. So 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and you see I'm making an X here. And then the top, cut this long, nice and long. The top one goes all the way around, around the center like this. All the way around. Then the first end goes over the top of that one. And then just pull it tight in the center. And then again. So there's a square knot in the center that holds the loops. There's 6 loops on each side, and then trim those streamers. So I have 2 little bundles. I'm going to start with the back of the head. So I will squeeze out a circle of hot glue on the back of her head, like that. And then I'll place the center of the bundle onto the top of her head, behind the hanging loop. I always kind of pull that hanging loop out straight because I don't want it to get caught in the glue. And then I want to arrange these a little bit. The back of her head will be covered, so I'm not worried about the back, but I just want to make sure the sides are glued down. So I'll add another touch of glue to the side of the head and press this into the side of the head. Like that. And the same thing over here. I don't want any loose loops. So I'll put some glue right here on the side, and then I'll press this into that glue. That looks good. This is the back of her hair, so I'm not too concerned about how it shows from the front. This bundle will be for the front. So first, I'm going to squeeze out just a drop, well, a glob, shall we say, right there in front of the hanging loop. And then I'll press the knot in the center of the bundle into that glue and hold it for a second. It's right in front of the hanging loop. There's the hanging loop. Great. Then I'm going to squeeze out a line of glue right here on the side of her face. And then twist the bundle toward the back and press that into the glue on the side of her face. That looks good. And the same thing for this side. Squeeze out a line of glue, twist this toward the back, and press it into the line of glue. These are the ends where the knot was, and so now it's safe to trim them a little bit. Now I'm looking at the hair, and I want to make sure all these pieces are secure, so I just do a little bit of styling with the glue and twisting and touching. This is looking a little more blue than purple, and I wanted to bring in more purple, so I thought I could do a bow out of some, this is the friendship bracelet type of string and floss, but nothing really looked right. So I thought maybe one of these, which is still a good idea, but then look at that. That just looks so good. So I think I'm going to just make a bow from this satin ribbon and then use a flower embellishment. This is Offray Ivory. All right, so this is Offray Ivory 1/16 inch. There we go. Okay, there we go. Here's the bow and the streamers. I'm going to add a little bit of glue here, and I'm going to glue this underneath the collar like that. So I'll just lift this up, place that there. Now I think I'll just take 1 or 2 or 3 of these white flowers. These are from Tim Holtz. I think they're from Hobby Lobby. They're with the paper crafting supplies. I'm going to do 3. All right, so I'm going to kind of gather all these stems together and then apply glue to the stems. There they are, 1, 2, 3. And then just apply the glue and press it into the front of the collar. I don't want to obscure the face, but just, yeah, just like that. Cute. Great, let's add her halo. I have 20 gauge gold wire. I'm gonna cut about 2 inches. I like to use my thimble to shape it into a circle, but you can use a spool or anything, or you can just wrap it around your thumb. Anyway, there's how it looks, kind of a U shape. I'm going to apply glue to both of these ends and then press the ends into the sides of her hair. Like a headband. I like the halo to be just above the head, not way up in the sky, but you can do yours however you like. All right, now let's see if this works. In my imagination, I'm going to use a needle and thread and just gather up straight through the center until I have a shape like this with this heavier bit at the top. And then once it's all gathered up, just glue it onto the back of her head. So we'll see how it goes. And you could do this with a doily. I've done projects where a doily becomes the wings and you just sort of gather up the center of the doily like that, and then the 2 halves of the doily become the wings. But this is a slightly different shape. It doesn't really scream wings, but I just thought it would work because the little leaves or the petals on the edge look like they could be feathers. There's little gaps where there's not really anything to sew through, so we'll just kind of have to hope for the best. Okay, that looks good, right? I think it's going to be great. All right, so now I'm going to pull this as tight as I can and then wrap it around the center a few times. And then I'm going to secure the thread in the front because that's where the glue will be. And I like the glue to kind of help secure the gathers or the sewing or any kind of hand stitching. So I don't have to worry too much about getting it securely knotted. All right, so there we go. And I thought that I wanted the the larger, kind of heavier part of the flower to be at the top. But this is also an option. No, definitely with this one at the top. That looks more like wings, don't you think? All right, so I'm going to add some glue right here. And then I'm going to press the wings into the back of her head. And I'm going to sort of separate these a little more so that there's a gap here, right here. Wait, hold on. There's a little gap here. And so that looks like two separate wings instead of just a bunch of fabric in the back of her head. There's how it looks from the back. I think I'll arrange this a little bit more and maybe secure some of the parts with glue. The back here is a little bit sloppy, so I think I'll just add a little bow over that center. And there we go. Thank you for watching my video. If you're enjoying my tutorials, please like, share, and subscribe.